Hey, what's going on out there, people? Welcome to Let's Talk Ball. This is Big B, Brian Hanley. Thank you for tuning in. Sports is it's good for the soul. It's just good for the soul. You can yell and scream, and nobody thinks you're crazy for the most part. You can scream at the TV, people know what you're talking about. You can scream at this and that, and it's okay. You can act like an idiot, and it's okay. Nobody cares. And one of the things that people go really crazy over are the rivalries. Let's talk ball.
Broken up by Tatum. Tipped off. Rachel Harris has it. Here's Short. Yes. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. Fly ball deep left field. Yes, there she goes. Touchdown. He did what? Yes. LeBron James. It is a grand salami. Bo Jackson unloads on this one. Touchdown. No. There's nothing real in the world anymore. No. Mike Jones made the tackle.
Wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick you.
Ortiz in the deep right field.
Down goes Frazier. He is Mr. November.
Touchdown Titans. There are no flags. Curry for the lead.
What makes a rival? Those are the things that really get people going. What really is a rival? What goes into the meat of a real rivalry? What is a real rivalry? Me growing up as a kid, I grew up in Louisville. I'm a diehard Louisville fan, as y'all know. Hated Kentucky, hate them to this day. Lexington can burn to the ground. As long as nobody gets hurt, I'm good with that. I'm sure there's people that feel the same way about Louisville. The difference is half the city of Louisville are Kentucky fans. So that's what makes a rivalry. Clearly the hatred. Diving into it, it's like, okay, well, I root for this team, and you're close. Proximity clearly is a big deal. So how close is it? Or is everybody good? Perfect example. Kansas State. I went to Kansas State. Kansas has been good in basketball, college basketball, for God knows how long. Forever. Until 89, Kansas State wasn't right with that, but they were pretty close. Pretty even. Kansas had won one title. I don't count those, the Lexington Herald giving them a national title in 1902 or whatever. That nonsense don't count. But they were right there neck and neck with each other. And then Kansas took off, and basically one bad hire, a guy left, Kansas takes off, and for 30 years, they were better than Kansas. That's not a rivalry. On the flip side of that, while Kansas State has been god-awful in football, or had been god-awful in football for forever, once Kansas State got Bill Snyder, and once stuff started to move in the right direction, Kansas, they just pulverized Kansas and beat Kansas every year. That's not a rival. So, they're bad example as a rivalry. Same goes for Kansas and Missouri. Another example. Kansas always beats Missouri. And yes, I know Missouri has won some games. I get that. But there isn't a person in the country that when you think about Kansas basketball and Missouri basketball even thinks that they are in the same hemisphere. And while Missouri likes to believe that Kansas is their biggest rival, Kansas is like, okay, yeah. They left the conference and they're like, we don't need to play you anymore. It serves no purpose. The whole, hey, we're better than you, why do we need to play you type of deal? That's what Kansas has done. They just kind of swept Missouri aside. That's not a rival. Not a real rivalry. What I'm talking about is teams that are both good. Like the Yankees and the Red Sox. That's a rivalry. Yes, I know for however long, 70, 80 years, the Red Sox never won a title, but it's not like the Red Sox were never good. They just could never get over the hump. It's not like they were never in the World Series. They could just never win it. But that's a rivalry. Yankees, Red Sox. That's a rivalry. That's a national thing. People all over the country know it. That's a rivalry. The Lakers and the Celtics. That's a rivalry. Now, not so much anymore because, they both took a tumble, but in the 80s, even before that, y'all all saw that 30 for 30. That was real. That was television right there. That's what it's all about. They couldn't stand each other. You got the brothers in Boston. Like, hey, man, I ain't for no Larry Bird. I've been living in Boston. Hey, I'm a Magic man. Now there wasn't a whole lot of Celtics fans hanging out in L.A., but the brothers in Boston were like, hey, I ain't rooting for no Bird. I'm not trying to root, and that was racial. It was, and you know what? I'm okay with it because I'm from Indiana and I'm a Bird man. During those rivalries, my brother, God rest his soul, was a Lakers fan. I was a Celtic man. And I was all Larry Bird all the time. I'm still all Larry Bird all the time. It wasn't racial with me. I knew Larry Bird grew up an hour and 5 minutes from where I lived. I'm a Larry Bird guy. Damn that. And damn the rest of it. Not to mention, Larry Bird was a bad man. That was a rivalry. Celtics-Lakers. That's a rivalry. National. Been going on for years. Both teams are good. That is the definition of a rivalry, and a good one. You got Auburn, Alabama, and that's a national rivalry. But let's be honest. Is Auburn that good? I know they play, and it's catchy name, Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl. But outside of a couple of national title games, is Auburn really good? And yes, Auburn did win, and I can admit, one of the top 5 football games that I've ever seen. They did win that. The kick for the return, field goal for the touchdown. Auburn won. One of the top 5 best football games I've ever witnessed. But that doesn't mean that it's that gigantic. It's a big rivalry for college football and people know it. But Auburn's not that good. Not that good. Florida State, How long's it been going on? Hell, Florida State didn't even have men going to it until, the mid-70s? So it couldn't be that good. Come on, What's real? A real rivalry. Green Bay, Chicago. Packers, Bears. That's a rivalry right there. Close in proximity. Both always cold as hell. That's football. That's football weather right there. Now, I know people from the South, and one of my homeboys, he's going to say, that's not football. Yeah, that's football. That's football. It's cold. Anytime you hit somebody, your fingernails break off. Your fingers split in half. Yeah, buddy. That's that football right there. I'm kidding. I don't want any part of that. I'm lying my ass off. Woo! I don't want no part of no cold weather. You know how cold that is? Talking about some ice bowl. I don't want to be in the ice bowl. I need to be in the hot tub bowl. Let's play in that. Let's play in the hot tub bowl. Hey, Kool-Aid to get down in that. Yes, sir. I'm not playing in no ice bowl. You must be out of your mind. But that's what I'm talking about. Though that's a rivalry right there. Big time things like that. UCLA, USC, When are they both good at the same time? Neither in college basketball, because has USC ever really been good? And then UCLA's been all right in football. They've been decent. But nah. Colleges have the rivalries and the rivalry games, but they're just not as big. They're just not as impactful as professional sports. Because the difference is in college, because you could go to this college and that college, blah, 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 blah. But this is my team. This is where I live. Which is why I'm so diehard Louisville, because that's where I lived. That's where I grew up. That is my team. We didn't have a professional team. So that's my team, which is the reason that people feel the same way about Alabama. That's where there's nothing there. So this is their team. But also you think about a school like Nebraska. That's all they got. Well, who's their real rival? Iowa? I mean, they didn't really start playing them until a few years ago when they got in the Big Ten. Colorado, they don't play anymore. No real rival. Oklahoma, Texas. Now that rivalry, now I know I live here and I'm a little biased. Now that one, cross state lines, that's a real thing. Both always good. Oklahoma gets a lot of their players from Texas. Big time rivalry. Same thing with Michigan, Ohio State. Big time rivalry. Cross state lines. Michigan gets a lot of their players from Ohio. Big time rival. Now that's what I like, and that's what makes up a rivalry. The meat, the guts, cross state lines, close proximity. That's a big deal. Are they both good? Are they both relevant? When they're not relevant, how can that be a rival? If you're whooping somebody's ass all the time, just because they're your next door neighbor, that don't make it a rival. I like to list them. College football, I go Ohio State, Michigan, 1, Texas, OU, 2nd. Now, you could throw Notre Dame in there, but Notre Dame has so many. Notre Dame, USC is a big one. That's probably the next biggest one for me. I don't give much stock to Auburn, Alabama. Auburn's just not good. You're not good enough. Not good enough, sorry. I give no credence to that. I mean, nothing personal. You're just not good enough. And that's just the way it is. Sorry, too bad, so sad. Be better for a longer period of time, then we can start calling it a real national rival. Until then, it is what it is. But as far as that, those are my football, college basketball, Duke, North Carolina. I mean, 9 miles? Come on now. That's a rival. That's how you get after it. Both teams always good. My second best, I know this is biased, but it's the truth. I don't care what anybody says. Louisville, Kentucky. Big time rival. Both good. Both relevant. That's what a rival is. Hell, a rival in Louisville has 1 million people and half are Kentucky fans in Louisville. If that's not the definition of a rivalry, I don't know what is. Half of another fan base is in that city. I love it. Baseball, it has its rivalry. I like the Chicago-St. Louis rivalry. The difference is St. Louis wants to be Chicago and is not. And I don't mean as far as baseball winning, because yes, the Cardinals have a much better tradition than the Cubs. I mean, much better. But as far as the city-wise, I mean, it's Chicago hands down, and everybody knows that. And St. Louis takes that personal. They can say they don't, but they be lying their ass off. Come on. You know you are. You're lying. You want to be Chicago, and everybody knows it. But that's part of the rivalry. That is part of the rivalry. Red Sox, Yankees, rivals, hate each other for 100 years. That's a rival. I wish the Yankees and the Dodgers played. Now, that you talk about a rival. Whoo! That's a real rivalry right there. Now, granted, the Giants and the Dodgers have that similarity. They have that big-time rival. Not as big as the other, but again, I mean, they both move at the same time. That's rivalry right there. They both moved out west together from New York. That's a rival. Love it. Love everything about it. Sorry, soccer fans, don't know any soccer, so no rivals for soccer. Sorry. Hell, I'd throw in Jeff, New Albany. I know y'all don't know it. Jeffersonville, Indiana, New Albany, Indiana. I was part of that rivalry. 2 million people. It was on cable TV. Man got stabbed over the game before. Oh, Jeff won? Eat this knife. Shoot. Oh, you bet how much? And Jeff won by how much? Take this knife. How's that feel in the back? That's not made up. And that's what I love about rivalries, baby. Love it. Love every single second of it. That's what gets people going. You know, the fight, the disrespect, the craziness. I mean, we just go crazy over those kinds of things. And that's what makes it good. That's what makes rivalries the best. Now, the best rivalry, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, Ali Frazier. I mean, they fought 3 times. Now, Ali lost the first one, won the second 2. 95% of people don't even remember the second fight. They remember the first and the third. That's a rivalry right there. You talk about bad blood. Ali called Joe Frazier everything under the sun. Every single thing under the sun, he called this man. And Joe Frazier went to his grave hating him. That's a rivalry, people. That's how you know when it's real. Now, he said a couple things, but even afterward, I mean, Joe Frazier is talking about, he said a couple nice things down the line, but when Ali had Parkinson's, Joe Frazier's making fun of him. Right or wrong, that's a rivalry, people. You're telling me you get Parkinson's disease and you get made fun of? That's a rivalry, people. That's what it's about. Man went to his grave hating him for the things that he had said to him 40 years before. Couldn't stand him. That's what I'm talking about. When they make a fight and all the people know an event. Let me back up. When they make an event and all people know is the Thriller in Manila and everybody knows what you're talking about, that would be a rivalry, people. And for some of you young cats that don't know, look it up. That's all you need to do. Throw a little YouTube on, look it up. Best rivalry in the history of sports. Ali Frazier. Period. Hands down. You don't believe it, you're an idiot. Let me say that again. Best rivalry in sports. Ali Frazier. If you don't believe it, you're an idiot. It had everything that you want in a rivalry. Titans in the sport. I don't know if you could both say that they were at the top of their games ever, but at the time when they were fighting, they were at the top. They were the best. And they were fighting at their best. I mean, they almost died. I mean, think about that. I'm willing to die to win. That's a rivalry, people. Do you think anybody on the Detroit Pistons is willing to die on a Thursday night when they go out and play the Brooklyn Nets? No. They're ready to die. They both were ready to die and almost did. Both laid up in the hospital after the fact. That, people, that's a rivalry right there, baby. I'm telling you. That's what it's all about. You put it on the line and you get it going. Titans at the top of their game. A trilogy. You know, it's not like it happened 55 times or it happened every year. 3 times. A trilogy. 1-1-1. Frazier won the first. Ali won the second. Let's get it on for the third to see who's the best. And that's how it goes. Love it. Rivalries. Rivalries. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of different ones that people could say. But Ali Frazier, baby. And again, I wasn't even alive to deal with it. I mean, I was too young to know exactly what it meant. But when you're around people, I mean, like I said, I grew up in Louisville. So the entire city of Louisville, it didn't matter black, white, red, yellow, purple, green. Everybody's an Ali fan in Louisville, Kentucky. You know, it's very minuscule, the number of people that are not Ali fans. Ali. So you just feel the gravity. You can just feel it as far as how good that trilogy was. So it was great. I loved being a part and just hearing the old stories, barbershops, listening to people talk, being at parties. I mean, 20 years later, people still talking about it. Like I said, Joe Frazier went to his grave hating Ali. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. I know he came out and said a couple of things after the fact. Joe Frazier went to his grave hating that man. That's a rivalry. I'm sorry. And that's the best rivalry in the history of sports. It's better than the Yankees, Red Sox, North Carolina, Duke, Ohio State, Michigan. Ali Frazier is the best rivalry in the history of sports. That's just the way that it is. You can disagree. I'm good with that. Love to hear the feedback. But when you talk about rivalries, I'm not sure that you can come up. I mean, you can't even justify how that isn't the top rivalry ever. Not rationally. You can come up with some reasons. You can throw something out there. But you can't rationally tell me why it wasn't the best. They were good fights. You know. Sometimes when you think of these rivalries, sometimes the guys aren't as good. Something and things of that nature. They were always good fights. So, I'm going to leave you with that. Rivalries. That's what gets us going. That's what gets the fans going more than anything. We love our teams. We love our sports. We love our each individual team and things of that nature. But when it comes down to it, we will knock somebody out to beat our rival. And I believe that's the way that it should be. That is the absolute way that it should be. So, thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you in the future. In the words of my brother Robert, aloha. Let's Talk Ball is produced by myself, Brian Hanley, and Darren Howard at Mach 1 Productions. Editing, music, intro, graphic design, cover art are also done by our Director of Operations, Darren Howard at Mach 1 Productions. Research, fact-checking by myself, Brian Hanley. The Let's Talk Ball podcast is brought to you by the LTB Network.